Hey everyone, welcome to this week's Authority Hacker Podcast episode. When we recently polled our audience, one of the main things that you guys asked more of is case studies and people who actually run authority sites. So today, we oblige and I am interviewing Paul Liberatore from golfersauthority.com on his journey, how he got started, etc. And spoiler alert, Paul is still a lawyer and he's still running his day job on top of running his authority site, but from his own words, he's already making 6 figures from his site and he's making more money with his site than he's making as a lawyer, so I would not be so surprised to see him do the transition in the next few years. But I really wanted to go back to the beginning of his journey and how he never ever built a website before and what steps he took to get to where he is today, his struggle and his advice to the people that want to do the same thing as him. I also put a specific focus on how Paul built relationships in this interview because I think he's done a really good job connecting with people who are doing well in this industry and getting mentors, and I think all of that helped him grow much faster than he would have if he didn't do that, and I know a lot of you guys could be using some of that, so I wanted to talk a lot about this with him and I think I got some quite interesting answers. Before we get going with the interview, you know what I'm gonna ask though. If you want to take 2 seconds and click on the subscribe button below and give us a thumb up on YouTube, it's going to help us a lot with ranking higher and getting more people join the podcast, which, you know, helps us quite a bit. So if you enjoy these kind of episodes and interviews, etc., don't hesitate to do that. And now, without further ado, let's get started with the interview. Hi everyone, so welcome to the podcast. Today we have Paul from Golfers Authority, who has been an Authority Hacker Pro member for a while. I know a lot of you guys were asking me to see real stories of people just doing authority sites and see what happened to them, how they got started, etc. I thought Paul was a really good example of that. So Paul, thank you for coming on the podcast and taking the time to share your experience with us. Welcome. You can answer now.
I'm excited to be here.
I can hear the excitement. I can definitely hear. Let's just tell the people what happened. Last week we were supposed to record that podcast and we ended up talking.
Let's go back in time.
We ended up talking for 2 hours and actually didn't do the podcast. So this time I told him I'm not.
We did like 2.5 hours and you're like, I'm hungry and Mark's in town. So but that's why we ended
I want to go back to your site though. That's why we're quite familiar with each other, by the way. People are like wondering how I'm treating the guests. I want to go back to your site and I want to ask you when you started Golfers Authority and why you chose golf.
I started my website January 1st, 2018. I knew nothing about building websites, 0.0, and nothing about SEO. And what happened was I actually found you guys on a podcast because I was trying to learn it earlier that summer, just basic stuff. And I found the podcast and I listened to it and that was like in the summer of 17 and I was like hooked pretty much. And what happened was really funny. I remember when you guys had that launch, that was like the launch from hell. You remember that where like nothing,
everything that could go wrong has gone wrong pretty much. Well, it's not that bad, but we definitely haven't had as many problems with our previous launches as we have with this one.
Yeah, everything broke. I think I know which one.
But see, I didn't realize that because you did it perfectly. You're like because your landing page isn't working and all that. But so I bought Authority Hacker. No, I bought TAS, and then like 2-3 weeks later, you opened up Pro for the first time in like a year because it was like the second iteration.
Even 2 years. I think that's the time when we just started doing it again. Actually, we had a pause for 2 years.
Yeah, and then I did TAS really fast, right? Like, but TAS was awesome.
Did you actually build your site or you just jump right away into Authority Hacker Pro? Just to give some context, by the way, TAS is our beginner site. Authority Hacker Pro is our advanced site.
No. I did TAS completely through it. That's what.
So you built the site. Like you had to build your site. Yeah, your site was built.
Oh yeah, it was rough. It was really bad. I mean, like I did the very first time. I followed everything to the T that you guys had taught, right? Like where to buy the domain and use Thrive Architect. Like I did every article in Thrive Architect. That was what you guys were doing. So like I did that. I really didn't start.
How much do you hate me for that advice now, for the Thrive Architect advice?
I don't care because you know why it got me started. I learned a lot about page builders.
That's exactly what I tell to people. Like a lot of people hate on Thrive, but I'm like, how many of you made your first dollars because that tool existed and you could build a proper site when you couldn't do it before? So yeah. So anyway,
I think I only had about 50 articles in maybe when you guys were like, Thrive sucks. You know what I mean? Like, you guys need to get off of it. Like,
yeah.
Well, not you guys were saying that, but as everyone started complaining about it, I noticed how like heavy it was. Yeah, at the time. So then I talked to other people in the group, and everyone's like, just do basic. Actually, it was Kevin who told me, he's like, you just need to do basic HTML. Like, and I'm like, oh my God, I was all scared. I was like, I don't know about that. He's like, it'll save you so much time publishing. I
just want to go back to a second. Before we talk about the tech, I want to talk about the niche selection, because you have a site about golf. Why did you select golf? Did you actually follow the niche research, or was there like other reasons why you picked golf? And did you play golf before?
So two things. One, I'm not a professional golfer, but I'm actually a lawyer, and like I golf. That's it, right? So when you said, I remember when the first thing they learned TAS was pick a niche that you know something about, that you enjoy doing, and when it's 2:00 in the morning and you have to figure something out, that you're not going to be like, screw it. Like literally, I remember you saying that in one of the videos. And so I was like, okay, I got to find something that I like and know about. And my father actually invented and had a couple of golf training aids back in the late 90s that he was selling. And so like, here's a throwback right here. So like, I helped my dad in like 2000, like early internet days, try to sell a golf training aid. And back then there was only magazines. So it's really funny because what we do now when it comes to outreach, you know, with for link building, it's the same thing I was doing 20 years ago, reaching out to editors at golf magazines to see whether or not they would use this. It's like cold calling.
Yeah.
And that's how he grew his brand. So I had a little taste of it, and we still have the company now, actually. It's mine. But that's kind of why I chose it, because I already knew a lot about it. I've been in that industry, kinda, you know, and I live out in Arizona, and it's like golf year round. So
did you like do the proper? Did you check all the metrics, etc., before you picked it, or you just went with your heart here?
A little bit, yeah. I checked in like all the metrics. So I chose golf like early on. So I'm like, I had to pick. I wanted to try golf. Like that was
okay. So you kind of had your heart set on it, but you still followed the process, kind of trying to validate it with the process, but you kind of wanted to do it basically.
Yes, exactly. So I'm like, well, I used the key question you asked, right? Like about picking a niche after doing the research, and I was like, it has to be something that I actually enjoy doing, right? So that's why I chose it for my first one. Okay. It took me 3 months of keyword research, like literally from about October to December. All I did was keyword research like crazy. It's all I did because I wanted to learn everything I possibly could about it. I learned, I was trying to learn Ahrefs, and I was trying to learn about keyword research, and I even looked at what's that called, the keyword golden rule stuff.
Golden ratio.
I know. Yeah.
Did you looking back now?
So I was like doing all that. So
if you look back at that time now, do you feel like you tried to like overanalyze before you got started? Like, shouldn't you have started earlier rather than spend 3 months doing keyword research? Or are you happy with these 3 months you spent doing keyword research?
I think looking back, now I know what to do, right? I built a second site. But like looking back, like it's also kind of scary. It's like, because it's easy to do keyword research and like figure it out and be real analytical. But what I wanted to see when I started out was how big is this niche? And who were the players, right? It was more than just keyword research. I wanted to know everything.
Yeah, build like mapping out the niche.
And so I think this is like I wanted to be like, okay, I think I had over 100 different other websites that were doing, and I knew nothing. I didn't know what the scope was, right? I knew about the sport, but I didn't know the scope of brands. I didn't know who was what, like who was who, and I don't know. I think that helped a lot. But also it's the scariness too. When you start writing articles, it's like, it's easy to do a bunch of keyword research. Like that's simple, right? And when we look back, but like the actual writing of the articles, like that's stressful as hell.
Did you write articles yourself at the beginning? Or did you?
Yeah. I know I did the exact same thing you guys told us to do.
Yeah. The first 10 articles, right?
You have to.
Yeah. I think
but what I did was the first.
Looking back, are you happy with that rule? Do you think it's a good idea?
You have to. You have to.
Yeah.
100%. You have to. People. Unless you know what you're doing, right? If you're a newbie, you definitely need to. I wrote the first 50 articles myself.
Wow.
And going through that process, I wrote one a day for 50 days. That's how crazy it was.
That's a good effort, actually.
And then what happened was, because I was testing the stuff out. I was getting it. I was hitting it. I was playing with it. I already had some of them, so that helped out a lot. And I have a friend who owned a golf store, so I could get whatever I wanted. to try out. So like I was already getting this stuff and playing with it. The thing was though, that it takes a long time to write an article, man.
Yep.
It takes like 4 hours, and that was like short. That was a 1,500 word article.
I was gonna say,
I'm going through that process.
I'm writing a blog post right now for Auto Hacker that's 8,000 words. I'm on it for like 2 weeks. Like not on and off, but
God.
like I am on this for 2 weeks with like examples and research, etc. So yeah, writing takes a really long time.
Yeah, and it's crazy, because I don't know. It took a long time. But what happened was my kids, I have 2 little boys, like they play sports, like, and they're doing Little League. So like I had less and less time to spend 4 hours at night to write my article. So I was like, well, I need to outsource. I need some other people that were like-minded like myself, that were golfers, that wanted to.
How did you manage your time?
Right,
like how did you, because you're a lawyer, you are starting a website and you have kids. So how did you manage to write 50 articles and manage your time? Like how much were you working in a day, etc. when you got started with your site?
Lots of cocaine.
Okay, we're going to cut that.
This is a joke. I don't know. I think it was a lot. I don't even know. Like everyone asks, like, how do you do it? I'm like, I don't even freaking know. Like, I'm a busybody. So I guess like, that's kind of how I did it. Now I feel like I manage more and I manage relationships with brands. Because I worked with a lot of brands.
We'll go into that after. I just want to go to the beginning now, and then after we're going to talk about the cool stuff you're doing now.
Yeah, no worries.
Yeah, it's like when you start a site, I feel like there's kind of like an initial sprint you need to make so that things get rolling, and after that you can kind of like roll back a bit. But it's like that initial push. If you don't do it properly, your site never gets off the ground, I feel, and then you just give up before it's actually something. So yeah, let's just jump into the site setup though, because you were talking about that, about the Thrive, etc. You never built a website before that, right? You've never done it.
Never.
Yeah.
I mean, I'd managed like other people building a website for like a company or something like that, but it wasn't like building your own, right? And what I wanted to do also as part of this is I wanted to learn not only the SEO, but like I didn't want to rely on somebody else all the time when things broke, right? Because I'd been in that position too, where it's like, now what do I do? Oh, I got to hire this dude that never calls me back.
I hate when like parts of the business I just can't touch it because I don't know technically how to do that. It's something I hate. So you can ask Mark. I do a bit of everything, right? I can do. The designer's not around. I do a thumbnail for the podcast or whatever. Or like yesterday I was literally writing, scripts to pull API data for like something that broke for the business, etc. So I can kind of hang out. I'm not great at all these things, but I can do a bit of everything. But I can understand how, I hate this powerless feeling of like not being able to do some things that you literally are a core part of how you make money. I hate this idea. I know I'm wrong. I know many people would disagree, like, you should outsource, etc. I do outsource, but what it allows me to do is when I talk to our front-end dev, it's like, we can talk about like what he should do to optimize the JavaScript or something and actually have a discussion and like all this stuff, etc. With people who don't learn the technicality of things can't necessarily do and often just get like lower quality work done by people, etc. So I feel it helps a bit. But anyway, to go back to the question, how was it to build your first site ever? And what were the biggest challenges for you?
My very first site was built on newspaper theme.
Okay.
I bought a theme
Great
on
choice. Theme
whatever.
Forest?
Yeah, Theme Isle or something.
Yeah.
But I think I remember heard somewhere like, oh, these are good themes. And I'd like, this is like, I do nothing. So I got the newspaper theme on, I think it was version 8 or something.
I see.
On Theme Isle. So that was my site. And then my articles were all built on Thrive Architect. Like that's, I think I looked at Authority Hacker site, like how your page structure was, at the time. And then I looked at like what was being taught in TAS and I'm like, oh, that's how you build a page, like I wanted to know everything, you know what I mean? Like I needed the groundwork.
Okay.
So that's kind of like, that was the V1, but like so the first article was actually published on January 1st. That was 2018. I didn't pre-write them or anything. I had a list. But
that was your January 1st New Year's resolution? You just started the year, you're like, okay, I'm doing this.
Yeah, pretty much. I was like, I'm going to start this. My wife's like, you're crazy.
Yeah.
And I was like, all right, let's do this.
When you started with the golf niche, I mean, one thing that people will see if they put a lot of golf keywords in Google Trends is that it's a very seasonal niche. So like you have a season where a lot of people buy and like there's a lot of traffic to your site and a season where it kind of goes down during the winter. It's kind of like half dead, etc. Did you realize that when you started in this niche, or did you realize later?
No, I knew nothing. Okay. Like I thought, I mean, and being in Arizona, it's like we golf year round. Okay, so it wasn't like, so it wasn't like I was expecting it. After the first year, I was like, whoa, that's a big difference. The difference between the December is a lot different than May, a
lot. Yeah, for sure. I mean, you get a bit of a spike, so I guess, around Black Friday or something, but that's about it.
Little bit. No one's really buying golf equipment, though. You know what I'm saying? Actually, you see a big uptick between Thanksgiving and Christmas.
So I guess that's
the worst day of the year. Is December? Is actually Christmas Day. It's like my traffic was like almost zero.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. And after that, it starts going right back up.
Yeah, that's when people start thinking about golf again. So let's go back to the story. How did your first year go? Like, what happened during your first year with the site, and where did you land in terms of traffic, revenue, etc. after 1 year, basically?
I would say by June of 2018, so I was like 6 months into it. I think I had probably 100 articles at that point because I had a writer that was helping me and myself. But I was a dumbass, and I thought here's rule number one, what I learned. Don't do a bunch of single reviews. That's what I thought, right? Because I did, like, of my 100 articles, like probably 90 of them were single reviews. 5 were like, tips and stuff, like info content, and 5 were buyer guides. So like, you're not gonna make any money on single reviews. Like,
I think you do with
which now
ads.
you're like 6 months in.
I think you do with ads. It's kind of like these are my opinion on single reviews.
I don't.
It's like, you can find like some high traffic, low competition keywords. The conversion rate is usually much lower than roundup reviews. But because it's sometimes
traffic's good, maybe.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Sometimes it's like for something popular, the traffic's quite good, and if you mix a little bit of revenue with ads, it's not terrible. It's not a bad piece of content to write compared to like a pure informational piece, for example.
But I think like starting out though, it's very disheartening when you're like making no money, and you're like, I have all these articles and I'm getting traffic because I think by June, here's what happened. So what year was that? June. Yeah. So in June, I met Kevin Espiritu, which everybody knows in the group. He's my mentor. Like
he's a big Age Pro member. He's a friend of mine as well. I know him he was an account manager for our agency before we even started Toy Hacker, etc. So it's
that's crazy.
So I know Kevin for pretty much 10 years at this point, almost. So you met him. And what happened?
Yeah, so like I saw him in the group. I saw he was in San Diego, and I live in Phoenix. So I am dumb, and I was like, hey, my family are going to San Diego. It'd be really cool to have coffee, right? And so he's like, yeah, for sure. Then I was like super excited because Kevin was like, I don't know, one of the gods in the Age program. I was like, holy crap. I'm like, all right, cool. This is before, like now he's like stratosphere.
Yeah, now he's Jamie Oliver of gardening.
Yeah, and like, so I thought it was really cool he would be willing to meet with me. Okay, so this is hilarious. So I go to San Diego with my family. I tell my wife, hey, I'm going to go meet this guy for coffee. And she's like, why? You're on vacation. So I go and I meet him at this coffee place. And he's like, I'll give you an hour and we'll talk. And I brought my laptop. I'm all excited. And I show him my site. And for the next 3 hours, he ripped it apart. Like, he ripped it apart. Like, telling me everything. I thought I had a good website, right? Like, for reals. I was like all excited, and I showed him. He's like, "No, this is crap." Like, he was like, "Tell me all these problems I had. I didn't even know, And I was like, "Holy!" And so then I leave them all like, "Whoa!" Like, my mind was blown, right? So I'm driving back to where my family is, and
it's really nice of him to spend 3 hours with you, helping you with your.
That's
website,
a big deal. Like, when he's only going to give me an hour, and he spends 3 hours. It wasn't like he was criticizing my site. He was actually like, he's just teaching me, like, "Hey, dude." Yeah, you know what I mean? And that shows somebody actually cares about you, right?
We come from the same... It's
really nice of him to do that.
We both of us, we met on the Wicked Fire forum, we used to be like a pretty active affiliate marketing forum, and that used to be the vibe, right? You just like straight talk to people without, like, I mean, some people would get like mad or something, but like the core group of people we knew there was like, it was a... I know in the US the culture tends to be like a little bit nicer, etc. In Europe, we tend to be more like straight up telling people to their face what we really think, And Kevin, I feel he just he matches that as well. Like, every time we talk or we chat, he has that straight talk, giving you hard feedback in a nice way, pretty much.
what you need,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
When you're,
exactly.
and that was like my, I don't know, like aha moment, right? So like pretty much he just told me, he's like, if you want to do this for reals, this is what you need to do. Or you can do this as a little hobby. And, you know, he's like, you gotta get rid of the newspaper theme. But like, he's just saying like, he's like, you look like every other website out there. And I was like, what the hell? And I was like, IMing Mark Jenner. And I was like, I was talking with Kevin Spiritu, and he was talking about how shitty my site is.
Mark Jenner is another
like,
H Pro member. I just try to give some context to people who listen.
You guys need to be an H Pro. That's the thing. We're all like the superstars of H Pro. And Mark Jenner is awesome. I love Mark Jenner too. He's helped me out a lot. So he's like, that's really cool. I'm going to tell you that. And then Mark Jenner's like, yeah, you need to get off the newspaper or whatever. And so like 2 hours later, I text Kevin. I was like, hey, man, thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate it because he's busy, right? And, you know, and I asked him, I straight out, I was like, hey, would you be willing to mentor me, right? Because that's what I've always felt like. If somebody's there to mentor you, then like you'll do really well, right? And just my life. Yeah, like they really care. And so he's like, well, I'm really busy. You know, I have my own brand and blah, 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 blah. And then like, seriously, like 5 minutes later, he's like, yeah, I'll do it. Like he gets like a text. I was like, so I'm like, oh my God. So I told my wife's like, yeah, whatever. I'm like, you don't understand. This is a big deal. So like, that was the moment where I like went from making an affiliate site to like, I want to make this something into something really big.
Yeah. Kevin is very much like, he did a good job. He has a good spin on you. He has a bit of a different spin to like the core of what we teach in H-Pro, but it's definitely a successful one. So I can understand how you took that down talking to him.
So by August of that year, so that was like, so that point, that's when you guys were coming off of Thrive, and Kevin's like, you need to put everything in, you know.
Yep. So you need to fix your technical stuff, basically. You need to make your site later better technical base, basically.
Yeah, so that's when I got Elementor. That's when Elementor first came out, right? Because you guys were like, oh, yeah, everyone was trying Elementor. And so, but by August, this is a big deal, I feel like. By August of that year, so like 2 months later, 8 months in, I was getting 35,000 people a month on my site.
Really nice. It's pretty good.
So
like it's
in 8 months.
Like I have some sites I started 8 months ago that get quite a bit less traffic than that. So that's definitely a good success.
So I was like, you know, I was like, holy crap, this actually works. Now, the first dollar I made was in July. I made like $20, and I was super excited.
Yeah,
like I was like, oh my God, because that's the next big milestone, right? The first dollar you make
for sure. It's the best money you'll ever make online. You can stop. You can die now. You know, it's like it's
yeah. I was like,
makes
I did
you
it.
happiest. You know.
It was so funny. So like we went to dinner one night, me, Kyle Roof, and our wives. And
how did you meet Kyle? So because people know Kyle Roof, definitely. He lives in Arizona too.
Kyle and I are. So Kyle, I saw Kyle was in Age Pro. Well, here's the story.
He's
Jason
in a group as well, yeah.
from Age Pro. What's his last name? Jason
Malone?
From Ireland.
Yeah, Jason Malone, yeah.
Jason Malone, yeah. So Jason and I were friends too. So I was like, this is like 2 years ago. Jason's like, hey, you got to check out this guy, Kyle Roof. Like, he's like off the level smart. I was like, who? You know, and he's like, just watch his YouTube videos. And he didn't have a lot back then, right? He had like some presentations he had done. And then like, I watched it, I was like, holy crap. And I was like, who's this guy? That's really cool. So then I found out he lived in Phoenix too. And so one day I was like,
that's so lucky.
I just IM'd him. I know, right? Like, what are the odds? And so I was like, seriously, right? So I was like, hey, and like he used to be a lawyer. His wife used to be a lawyer. I'm a lawyer. So like I was like, hey, you know, you live in Phoenix. I live where I live, you know, Tempe. And I'm like, it'd be really cool if you want to have lunch sometime, because it's like it's hard finding other people that do what you do, you know? So, and I do this on the side. I was doing it on the side, right? So he's like, yeah, for sure. And then we ended up having lunch one day, and we just like totally hit it off and we became friends. And then he was like, hey, he's like, I remember saying this. He's like, I had a really good time. Thanks for, you know, let's go on lunch, whatever. He's like, it's nice just to like have somebody normal to hang out with, right? And like not all like, oh, you're Kyle Roof, blah blah blah. And so he's like, you want to?
I don't have that problem,
like,
but
I bet you do. If you go to like Chiang Mai and stuff, right? Yeah. So like, so then he goes, let's have dinner with our wives, and I was like, oh, that's cool. And then my wife and his wife became really good friends, and then that's
cool.
We became really good friends really quick. So
you know,
like we went on vacations together.
One thing that I'm picking up from your story, and just to cut off a little bit of the chronology here, is that you are doing a really good job at connecting with people and getting mentors and people helping you out. I think a lot of people in this community would like to have this happen, but they don't really know how to approach it. So would you mind sharing how you quote unquote befriend people who are doing well in the industry and get close enough to them that you get some help from them, basically?
I just talk to them. I just want I want to talk to them because I think they're interesting people.
Yeah.
And I feel like in this world, like we all have the common bonds on stuff, right? So
what would you tell an introvert? Like, it seems like you're good at talking to people, but let's say someone is introverted and kind of like struggles going towards people, which a lot of people in this industry are like. I guess you're like a lawyer, you're like used to talk to people, et cetera, et cetera. But like, it's not the case for a lot of people who would be listening to this podcast. But I'm sure a lot of people listening to this podcast would love to find mentors like Kevin or help, get to know people like Karuf, etc. Don't all go talk to Kevin and Karuf, please. But I'm more talking about the concept. How would you think they should approach that?
What helps me is by just reaching out, right? If you reach out, if they don't respond, then who cares?
What do you say in your first message?
Hi, I want to be your best friend. Will you be my friend?
Okay.
Love, Paul. No, I don't even know. I just say,
right?
Hey,
heart emoji.
Yeah, heart emoji, like a cucumber next to it or something. No. So I don't know. I just reach out. I just send an email or like I IM them in the group and be like, hey man, I love what you're doing. Or I'm not asking for anything.
I see. I think that's a big one, actually. You don't start with like, can you help me? But you just start being like, hey, I like what you do. I'd love to have a chat or something like this, no?
That's how I grew my brand. I've worked with like a lot of brands at this point. You can't be a taker. You have to be a giver. You know what I mean? And so that's
so what do you give them?
Well, you just want to meet with them. Like, it's not like you're asking for something, right? So when it comes to people, you're not asking, right?
So you're making it low commitment to start with.
It's for both of us, right? I always saw dating, right? It's like you're dating. So it's like if you say, "Hey, let's have coffee," that's a date, right? Even though it's not. I know it's a weird analogy, but like, so by the end of that, if they're even willing to meet with you, that's really cool, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's a big deal. And then number two, if you just be yourself. And then it's like having a conversation with somebody. And by the end of it, if they're weird, then it's like you never talk to them again. And if they're like cool and you hit it off, you're like, hey, this guy's really cool. And then that's how it works.
So when you approach people, does it work every time? Do you get to like get a good relationship with everyone? Or is it just like sometimes you hit it off and sometimes it doesn't work out pretty much?
I think if people flake out or like... you just know, like, I don't have time for that. Like, that's
fair enough.
You don't invest your time. You only invest your real self into people that are genuine.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yeah. I'm trying to get how like people would take this away, because I think it's like if there's one thing you did better than average of beginners is surrounding yourself with people who are already successful and gave you like indications on what to do. Like Kevin did that. I'm sure Cal did some of that as well. And I'm sure there's other people like Mark Jenner as well. All these guys, I know them. I know they're doing well. I know they're the real deal, etc. And you did a good job.
Same thing with you, though. You and Mark, right? Like, how did you guys do it? It's the same thing.
Right?
Like, how did you, like...
You know how I do it?
I'm
quite introverted in real life. So that's why I was asking a question. But...
Oh, you want to learn?
No, it's not that. So what I do, actually, is I befriend extroverted people who do the networking for me. And then through them, I meet everyone I want to meet without having to change my personality, So it's like there's a couple of what I call connector in my social circle that are these very extroverted people, etc. And then I make sure I provide a lot of value to them. And then these people go do all the networking for me and pretty much can introduce me to anyone I want. And so it sounds like calculated, but it's like it happens in a natural way as you interact with people.
It's natural though, but
exactly,
it's like
it's not.
You had to open yourself up to those people because they wouldn't have ever done it.
And it's like again, it's like I do my best to also provide value to these people, right? And it's like, but what allows me as an introverted person is to network with a lot of people without having to spend hours doing it or whatever. I just get to wherever I want through the shortest path by having a couple of really good connections that I'll invest my time in to feel like they reciprocate anything, like any help they can do for me, pretty much. So that's kind of like how I handle this. But I guess you're more extroverted, so you're that connector. You connect yourself pretty much,
I just find it fascinating because this world is not my world.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
So
but that's why I was curious, because you got in and you got to meet some of the best people in the industry within 8 months, which is quite impressive.
I'm just so fascinated by this world that I actually care about it. You know what I mean? And I'm like, I want to learn. I'm hungry. I want to learn it. So if someone's willing to give me just a little bit of their time and talk to me about what they're doing, like that's cool, right? Because I have nobody to talk to about this. Because I think as everybody knows, when you do this, like nobody understands you, right? Like none of your friends or your family or anything. Like this is a
my mom still thinks it's not gonna work out. You know, my mom still doesn't believe this business can work. So I explain this to her, and she's like,
my wife was very supportive. And the other day, she's like, "How much did you?" We're doing our taxes, right? She's like, "How much were his expenses?" And I told her, and she was like, "WTF?" And I'm like,
"Would you mind sharing how much you made with your site?"
If I had that much in expenses, that means I had that much in income. Over 6 figures.
Okay, that's good enough for me. You don't have to share. Nobody likes to share the exact number, so I think it's great. How much? Can you give an idea of like how much traffic you get? Again, you can be
over 7 figures
per year, right?
I don't know, per year. Last year I made more money doing this than as a lawyer.
Okay,
so that's crazy, right?
Yeah, in the US it's really good actually.
And yeah. And this is on the side. This is me doing this at night or when my kids go to bed.
How many hours?
You know, like this isn't me. I'm working. I don't know. I mean, probably like 40 hours. Wow. I don't even know because it's fun for me. It's like
you do 40 hours per week on your site plus your lawyer next to it.
Oh no. Oh, I mean like a month.
Oh, okay. 40 hours a month. Okay.
That's like that's like, what is that? I mean, I have a team now, right?
Yeah.
So I do a lot more managing than anything. Like I don't have the time I spend. Like I have a team. I built my team. So
what does your team look like these days?
I have a full-time VA that actually got on Age Pro.
Nice.
Listen, this is how cool Age Pro is. Let me tell you. So somebody in Age Pro, I can't remember who it was like, "Hey, I have this VA, but I he's awesome. He's really great. He lives in Macedonia, right?"
Okay.
And so he's like, "Hey, but I don't have any room for him, right? So like I have, whatever the terminology is." So I was looking for a VA because at that point I was like, there's a lot of tasks I do over and over and over again, right? And that's one thing Kevin taught me. He's like, as soon as you can afford a VA, get a VA because the repetitive tasks just take time, right? So I found the guy. This is hilarious. So I find the guy in H Pro. We hit it off. We talk. Or he gives me the name of the person. I email him, whatever. I hire him as part-time because all I can afford, right? And so he's been with me for 2.5 years now. Like now he's a full-time employee.
Nice.
I mean, not employee, but
so he's a full-time freelancer, basically.
Yeah, he's like mine, right? Like I'm his main source of income, and like we became really good. Like we're really good friends now. Like he's been with me since the beginning, right? So
what does he do for
actually,
you?
he probably knows my website better than I do, at this point, because he's having to fix so many, I tell him, go fix all these things.
What does he do exactly for you?
Publishing now. He does all my publishing. Like the initial round of publishing, I have to check it. He does link building for me. And what else? He's just started doing my YouTube uploads. Just like time, it takes time.
Yeah, all the time consuming tasks, basically.
I upload all my videos and my podcast to the website. That takes a freaking long time. He does all that now. So all I have to do is make the content.
Nice.
I mean, so he's full time.
Okay.
So yeah.
Who else did you have on your team?
So the first person I ever hired, well, I have a couple of writers, right? But we're not writing as much as we used to because we have over 700 articles right now. So it's like, we're running out of stuff to write about.
Fair enough.
I mean, we can write about like new products.
Don't want to write more single reviews?
Well, I might. I'm going to. Actually, you said that. Now I'm thinking about it.
Yeah, I think you should check your revenue because the CPC tends to be higher as well on single reviews, actually. Because
I love
of the
ads.
commercial intent.
I mean, ads. I make more money in ads than an affiliate. Like, it's crazy. Like that was a game changer as ads.
I want to go to monetization after actually. But let's stick to the team now.
I have a full-time graphic designer now. I started with him 2 years ago. He's been part-time. He's worked for other people. And then I started a second brand last fall, and I needed my graphic designer more than part-time. So then I hired him full-time. So he does he's freaking amazing. And so he does all my graphic design. He'll do some of my video work, like for short stuff, you know?
Yeah. Light editing, basically.
I have a production team. They're freelance. I have a couple different like videographers I work with.
Because you do podcasts, you do video, and you do written content, and also quite a bit of social media, right?
Yeah, I have a social media person now. Like these are all things. What I'm trying to, and like this I've kind of learned the last like year is like the things that you can't get to that you need to, you got to find somebody to do it for you, or just don't do it. You know, like you can't just half-ass it. Like
I agree. Half-assing stuff is the worst. You just expend resources without getting anything. You know.
I'd rather make no money doing this and have everything working, you know, than do a half-assed job, make a little bit of money. It's like
I agree with you 100%. That's why there's a lot of things we say no to as well, because it's just like sometimes I don't even have time. Like we just always focus on like we just look at our balance sheet with Mark and we look at what makes the most money. We're like, okay, let's double down on that, and then just keep doing that. And it's like
I learned that from you last week when I talked to you, because you're like, pick the one thing that's making you money and spend all your time on that. Because I'm spread out, right? Like so, it's like well, some of it's considered, marketing, right? But
you were saying that one thing I wanted to raise on is like you said your VA was doing link building for you. What do you do for link building, and like what's working, not working for you?
Well, I've done link building like freaking 6 months, pretty much. Ooh, but I was doing a ton of it last fall.
What did you do?
I know. I did what you guys taught. I did Shotgun Skyscraper. Mm-hmm. Well, what's happening though? I don't know. Did you see this? Like everybody's asking for money now.
Yes,
it's like ridiculous. It's like,
yes, it's one of these things. Like I mean, we've mentioned it several times in the podcast. Like now we have some projects where we are experimenting with like paying versus other projects where we don't pay. So I wanted to like get a real life experience of like the risk versus benefits of paying for links, because my opinion is that Google is not punishing people who pay for links enough.
I think I know.
And it's like we've had this debate like so many times with Mark.
I know, like a million times, right? Because you guys are like, don't buy links. And some people are like, why
and
not?
That's why it's
like back and forth. Yeah.
And that's why if you want to say that, you need to have that. Like, so we have like that one project where we buy links on right now. We don't buy links through services, etc. We do the normal outreach, we do all this stuff, but we just negotiate the price if people really won't give it to you for free, basically, and we pay like 20.
I always negotiate though, because like they'll be like, oh, it's $100, I'll give you 30.
Yeah,
like like if someone's gonna do it, I'll what I'm saying, like I'm not gonna give you like it has to be a good link, like
And what?
Like,
so you're paying for links sometimes, right?
If I have to,
so
if it's worth it to me, and it's not so.
How did you find your success rate improve from paying? Like, did you improve a lot?
Like, is it my ranking or
is basically, let's say if you didn't pay for links, if you didn't pay for links, you got maybe 4% of people or 3%, probably even 1% of people who would say yes. And like, what percentage did you get from like saying yes, okay, I'll pay for links?
I bet you, like how many people on the initial email and they're like, oh, and they start talking to you, and then the next thing they're like, oh, we charge for that, or they give you some BS reason, like it's like a mommy blog. They're not dumb. The mommy blogs are not dumb.
I know, but like the thing is like it's like in my head, it's like, well, even just adding your link to a page takes time from them. So it's like, why would they do this for you for free as well? You know what I mean? Like as a lawyer, I'm sure you don't as a lawyer, you don't do free stuff for
anybody,
people, right?
I mean, if someone goes, hey, I want a link, right? Like now you have to have somebody in your team do it, or you do it. Now it's taken away from it does no use for a brand or anybody, right? To give you a link for
if
free.
If I come to you as a lawyer and I'm like, hey, I need some advice, it's just going to take you 5 minutes. And I'm like, don't charge me for it. And it's like, you'd be like, well, I'll probably I'll charge you. I
feel all the time.
But you know what I mean? It's like, it's like, I just feel like this is a bit of a problem in the sense that you are you're still like, essentially, what Google's idea is like, we live in a little pony world. And then people just like love to link to each other for free. But like given the power and the weight links have, it's like, it's quite hard to like have
a million years
exchange.
ago.
Exactly. It's a little bit hard. So it's something that I'm really debating. And it's like we're doing it on just that one project right now. But I am, given the lack of willingness from Google to actually punish paying for links, I feel the risk-reward ratio now is weighted towards just paying for links, to be honest. That's my feeling. And it's like, it's not necessarily what I would like, but it's also probably a reality of the market, you know?
I think, yeah. I mean, I would say, let's say I email 100 people. Let's say I email 1,000 people, right? Let's say I probably I might get 100 people to respond if I'm lucky, right? Let's say I get 50 people to respond, and I would bet you of those 50 people that respond, 47 of them want to get paid. You know what I mean? Like, it's like, okay, now it's risk versus reward. It's like, well, I could go back and forth, or that's a DR, whatever, and it's a legitimate site. F it. You know what I mean? Like, how is that any different than doing Haro? And then you're like, oh, they want you to submit some kind of like information, but you don't have time. So then you pay your VA to do it, or someone writes it real fast. Like, how's it? It
just feels like this vision that Google has for the way people link to each other just is quite far from reality at this point, and it's going to be hard for reality to catch back up to Google's vision. So unless they just go back and start massively punishing incentivized links, I just don't see it changing. I see it just keep going that way. It's just like people do pay for links in a way or another.
Well, especially if you look at your competitors, right?
Yeah, exactly. Like they just start outranking you, and you're like,
they got links from so and so. Right. So you go, oh, that, come on, we know how to do that SEO. So like you look at your competitors, you see who gives them their links, then you reach out to those people. That's like low hanging fruit. Right. Yep. So you go to that, but then the person comes back to you and goes, hey, pay me. Well, it's like, obviously your competitor paid them, because it's not like they didn't pay them, because and for other sites like yours, or you know what I'm saying? You're like,
yeah, I agree.
So it's almost like, now what do you do?
But it's not even just that. It's like,
now it can't be some fake site though.
Yeah, I mean, overall, basically, I think the reality of the market is that a lot of people pay for links, and it's becoming harder and harder to be the guy who doesn't pay for links. It's still possible, but you're really, you're fighting against the current of the river. It's like it's very difficult. I want to talk about monetization, because you're doing some cool stuff on your site actually, and did you just start with Amazon like everyone? Like, did you just do Amazon initially?
Yes, until they started jacking with the pricing.
Yeah.
And like, I saw it too, and I was like, this is bullshit. Like, I was like, all this money and time. And
well, it's kind of
like, oh, we're going to knock it down.
Yeah. The thing is, like, it's kind of bullshit, but like in some niches, there's not that much better alternatives, So it's kind of, it's like fair play from them. Like, it's like, if you go and Google a bunch of FAQs, you'll see that most people still use Amazon, right? So it's annoying, but I think they were actually overpaying.
A lot of people are still using Amazon.
Exactly. But you have done...
I would say in the beginning, like,
moving,
I was 100% Amazon.
Yeah, but like now if I check your pages, there's a lot of...
Yeah, I started diversifying like 2 years ago.
How's that working out for you?
Yeah, I mean, okay. Here's the thing, though. When you have a bunch of different affiliate programs, you're watering it down, right? Yeah. So it's like, the buyer has 4 choices now to buy that product.
Yeah.
And it's like you have all these different rates, right? How are you going to get paid out? At least Amazon, you can get paid out on other stuff. If I buy something from some golf store and they only buy one golf item, I might get 6%, but then it's like, big deal. I bought a pack of balls. You know what I mean? Like, it's hard to figure out what's right or wrong,
Yeah, I agree.
When it comes to that.
We actually started using a tool called Affiliate that allows us to do some analytics on our on a lot of affiliate programs, and it's like they have a good support team. It's like, even if you're working with like a small affiliate program or something, they're just willing to like add it to the platform if you ask them. Like, it's going to take a couple of weeks, but they do that. And it gives you like, you're earning per 1,000 visitors per page per affiliate program and things like that. So it gives you a mind heat map of where people click, which affiliate links are clicked the most, etc. Like, they do some really cool stuff. So I would suggest maybe it's something you can check out.
Is it better than Hotjar?
It's different because it's made for affiliates. So it actually plugs your commissions in.
Oh.
And it just like calculates against revenue, which is quite nice. And you'll find often that like...
Oh, like it uses the API and it tells you what your revenues are?
Either API or like there's some wonky CSV upload sometimes with your commission, so that it just like feeds the data back in. So like every month you upload your CSV, it just feeds the data back in, and you can look and, often, for example, you'll find that it's not your pages with the most traffic that make you the most money, etc. And like which pages you should be pushing more, which pages are getting a lot of traffic but not making you that much money. which link on the page is making you the most money versus, all these little things like which links don't make you money. They also give you the broken products on Amazon, which is quite handy, to be honest. So I it's not perfect. Like it's quirky a bit, but you will get some interesting insights. There's we did a podcast that is not released at the time at which we're recording, but that will be released at the time of a site that I really like how they did. I'll send you the link actually, so you can check it out, and we can add it as a B-roll as well. Here you go. And these guys, it's called the Hoops Kick. It's like a basketball site. And if you check how they're doing multiple affiliate programs, it's quite smart because if you click on the link, they actually open a pop-up for every product, and they show you the multiple options so that the layout is not that cluttered. And what they do as well is they show one main one with a big button, and then they have like +2 stores or something, and you click and it shows you the other one. So if you use something like Affiliate or something to find which affiliate program is making you the most money for a given product, you can essentially make the major call to action that affiliate program, and then put the other ones as that pop-up that opens. It's really smart how they do it. I might do a tutorial on how to do this in Authority Hacker Pro actually, because I think I've really liked how they do this. I haven't run obviously deep analytics on this. I found this not that long ago, but I think this layout is pretty cool actually. So I don't know what you think, but I would check it out.
It's pretty clean.
Yeah, that's what I like. It's like it's not clean. On mobile, for example. It's not overwhelming. There's not like 5 buttons on top of each other or something.
But there's no ads on this. Looks like
no, but it's not about ads. It's about affiliate. Yeah, but the way they do affiliate is quite nice, to be honest. So overall, this
is like mine. This looks just like mine. That's how mine is.
Quite close, yeah. It's quite close. I think you have a lot of buttons. I think no.
Well, if you go to the product, mine pulls mine. So we built that out 2 years ago. So now I pull pricing in real time. Nice. So I'll tell you who has the best price. So it's like you could either if you like a store and you go like, oh, Amazon has it for this much, but so and so has it for that much. You can make the choice, right? Right then and there.
Yeah, that's cool actually.
Who you want to buy it from. So you're trying to save money, or you're trying to get like Amazon, like whatever. That's so I kind of did that too with mine, right? It's like, which then what happens is though, then now on my back end, we have like almost 1,600 products now on the back end. So it's like, because each product has its own page. So that's not one my normal. That's just a product level item.
Is it built on WooCommerce or something?
Product. Yeah.
Yeah, I can tell.
Yeah. But
how did that work when you implemented that? Did you feel a lift in revenue?
It's hard to tell because last year was a very good year in golf.
Yeah.
So, I did. So here's what happened, and you know this, right? A lot of people in the group know about it. Well, my close friends do. Like, I broke my site, right? Yeah. Remember that? When I broke my site? Like, that happens. You can break your site, and it's scary. So, like, in January 19, I did something and break my site, and it literally took like 7 months to fix. And it like,
all your search traffic disappeared pretty much, or like most of it, right?
Literally. Well, most of it. I mean, like, it all came. Here's what happened. I changed something when being a newbie, I changed too many things at once on my site is what happened. And Google picked it up because they probably thought I was doing something shady, which I wasn't. And I think I did a lot of research on it. I think it put me in some kind of special bucket, which they test people, right? And so what Google was doing is like, I would be at like, 400 people for 2 weeks. And then the next week I'd be at like 5,000 people for 2 weeks and then go back down to 400. And it did this for 7 months. And it was like no rhyme or reason. Like, it didn't matter what I did. That's when I met Kyle. Like, I was like, Kyle,
do you know what caused this?
At it. Yeah, I know exactly what caused it.
So what caused it?
Yeah, I told you what caused it. I followed something you put on Facebook that you had tested this tool to change the
title tag, right?
You could change. Yeah, no? That's all it was. It was nothing crazy.
Yeah. So was it AB rankings that did that for you?
I mean, all I did was there was a plugin that was working for you guys. Tested it out. And
really? Was it the last updated plugin? The last updated one?
Yeah, exactly. That's what you said. It worked, and you saw a slight bump. Instead of doing the published date, it would show last updated date.
I have like sites that run that plugin, and it's like I've never seen that actually.
Dude, that's what I did.
Okay,
and
that's
it's
very
like
weird.
That's exact. Like, 3 days later, that's when it all went to hell. Like, because I did to all my pages though. I'm not sure if I was supposed to do that. Like I did.
You updated the date on all your pages at once or something?
Yeah, because I was a dumbass. So I didn't know I wasn't supposed to do that.
You know, the article says like try to update the date when you actually update your article. You know?
This is
just wanted to say.
Well, I was dumb. Yeah. I messed up. Like I didn't know. But see, like you can break your site. That's the gist of the story. Like don't do something dumb. So,
yeah, it might have been what theme were you using at that time? Were you still using newspaper?
Oh, that was the old site too. Remember the one that was all jacked up? You guys all made fun of me about.
Yeah, so it's like it's possible that you had some like schema that was doing some weird stuff in your theme or something. Whatever.
Okay, here's the other thing. Right, I'll just tell you some more stories.
Go ahead.
So like I hired somebody off of like Fiverr, right? When I wanted
always
to
a good
build
idea.
out like bad idea ever, right? So like when I wanted, I'm on V4. Wait, hold on. I'm on V3 of my site now, right? V1 was the newspaper theme. V2 is, I had this really big grand scheme and I wanted to build it out, like all this cool stuff. And so I hired a developer that looked like an okay developer from somewhere from, India or something. I don't remember where he was from. And he was nice and he did a good job, but like, apparently the coding was garbage. I didn't know that. And then Jenner looked at it and he's like, what's up with your sorting tool? Remember that? And then I called my sorting tool to Jenner after that because for 6 months he told me to get rid of it and I didn't do it. And then as soon as I got rid of it, guess what happened? Everything started working better.
Yeah.
So
I don't know. I don't know how much you can blame the last updated plugin. I've never heard of anyone that got like.
Well, that's what triggered it, though. Like that's when it all happened.
You know what?
Right?
What probably happened? What probably happened is you had some shit on your site and Google didn't recrawl it. Like they just, they do what I call a lazy recrawl. Well, they'll just recrawl like the content, but they won't recrawl the entire code. And because you updated the date, Google's like, oh, there's some new content on that page. Let me recrawl all of this. And they found all the new stuff the new shit that you had on your site, and then they just like
it was like not new. It was like all. Oh my god, dude, it was so dumb.
Yeah.
Well, and I had the Jenner. So when I had the Jenner. I dealt with this. I didn't want to get rid of V2, right? I was that stubborn. I was like, I spent all this money building out V2.
Yeah, how much did you spend on this?
So I didn't change it. Oh, all my money that year, pretty much. Like trying to figure it out. And then finally, I was like, screw it. I'm getting rid of the Jenner. And I'm getting rid of the whole entire site. I'm starting from scratch. I did everything, dude. I went on private server. I got off of whatever I was on.
Hosting.
Yeah, I got a private server now, like one of Kyle's friends owns a server company or whatever. So I went on his thing. Like, I also found that the server I was on though was in a bad neighborhood. Like I tried to figure out everything. Like I had gambling sites and all kinds of crap on mine. So I was like, no, I thought maybe that was it. Like when something breaks on your site,
you can't tell
that's
what
a
it
good
was
thing
exactly
in a way.
Yeah, it makes you fix it all
because you're gonna it makes you learn. Like it makes you grow, right? If it didn't break, you would never have changed it. I pretty much wiped the entire site. I kept the articles, and Jenner was like, "Hey, you need to republish those you need to publish those articles in like clean HTML. You know what I mean? You can't have you can't import it all in because you don't know if something's janky.
You're gonna get all the Thrive tags in there, etc. It's gonna be a mess.
Yeah, from the old stuff, right? It ended up taking. Oh shoot! I bet take 2 months to move over to the new site, but then it took another 7 months to get it done. You know what I mean? Because there's all these auditing and fixing it and whatever. I mean, so that it was worth it. Trust me.
What happened when you fixed everything? How quickly did you recover your traffic?
It recovered. It started recovering right away. And then what happened was it was funny because then 6 months later, it was right around Christmas time, and this is in 19, and all of a sudden it did it again. I didn't touch my site, so nothing had happened. It wasn't like there was any changes. And it was but I didn't freak out this time. And I remember reading somewhere just don't do anything. Let it do its thing. So it lasted for 7 days and then went right back up. So I was like, whatever. And that was the last time it happened.
Okay.
But it was still I was about to freak out. Yeah, I was about to freak out because I was that's the most debilitating feeling in the world. When you have your site and you're all excited about it, and then now it doesn't. You're not getting any traffic. You didn't do anything wrong?
I think it's something that you will always experience in your career as well. That's why it's interesting to talk about this, because most people will one day experience some kind of like negative effect from a Google update or from a technical change they've done to their site, etc. It happened to all of us, right? I mean, you guys literally saw this happen to us on Health and Mission, for example. Like people followed us.
Yeah, right. It totally went away.
It's like it happens. It's something that will happen to you several times in your career. The thing is, like, as you get more experience, you just learn to deal with it better, I guess. I think you've done a good job. I think you kind of like, if I remember, you were freaked out at the beginning, you didn't know what to do, etc. But eventually you sorted it out and you went through it. But I think, it's like, it was one of these, like a natural selection point, I would call, for this industry, where, some people will be like, oh, fuck this, and just leave the industry and never come back. But you actually went through this, and I think that you did a good job overall. Fixing things, and obviously it's working really well right now, and it was worth.
Yeah, I mean, my traffic between 19 and 20 went up like 100%, right? So like, I look at all my numbers my traffic's gone up 100% almost every year, right? And like 100% is a lot. Yeah. It's like,
especially when you're already making like 6-figure plus with your site, it's like it counts. It's like if you grow 100% from that, that's a lot.
I mean, yeah. So like this. So one thing I think has been helping my site is like I've worked with a lot of brands at this point. I've worked with over 120 golf brands. So like I have a lot of legitimacy, right? Yeah. Because I like.
Can we talk about that actually? I think it's a good transition. Let's just talk about that's a perfect. I like how you do all my transitions in that podcast. Thank you very much.
Well, you sent me that email. You said, "Hey, do all my transitions."
Yeah, you're much better than me. I think I should just like put clips of you doing transitions in podcasts with me and Mark.
That'd be hilarious.
That'd be a lot smoother.
My head will pop up in your transition.
Yes.
Time to ask this question.
You just pass by. But
I walk by. I fly to Hungary, and I just go I hold a sign like a boxer.
Exactly, with the little bell or something. Cool. Anyway, you did start with Amazon, and now you say you're working with brands. What do you mean by you're working with brands? First of all, I'd like to understand what that means and how you're making money from this.
I work with manufacturers, the people that make the product.
And what do you do with them? What work do you do with them?
So I do reviews with them. I do unboxing videos for YouTube with them. They send me tons of product. I have tons of product here. I'm gonna do more. I have on my podcast, high level people, not it's a guy who works in a warehouse.
So
right?
you're kind of like
Global Golf or somebody.
You're moving more towards a bit of an influencer in the niche, pretty much. Like you're using your website's traffic to try to become you're deviating towards that, but mixing that with your site, pretty much.
So a year ago, here's the other thing. It was Paul's life lesson. You never know who you're talking to, right? You never do. So you could think this is some little crappy brand that no one's heard of. I treat everybody the same. If it's a small band, bring it in, I don't care. So I met somebody who had a small brand, some little product. I reviewed it on the website. I didn't do any YouTube back then. I reviewed on the website. We became friends. Finds out he's super wealthy, super wealthy, and he is partners with a bunch of PGA players, right? Cool. I didn't know that. I just treated him like some dude. Right?
Yeah.
So but because I did a solid for him, which there's no strings attached, right? It was just me doing a review on my site and trying to sell his product now. He's like, hey, you need to go to the PGA show. And the PGA show is the event for golf. It's every year. It's in Orlando. It's the event. It's a square mile under concrete, of every golf brand, every whatever. She's like, I want to treat you to the PGA show. I want to pay for you to go. Nice. I was like, holy crap. Because I would never go to that because it costs $10,000. Right?
Yeah, I can imagine.
That opened a lot more doors because I had already worked with all these other people. I had become friends with them over email and stuff. So going to something like that, now I connected with those people, which then allowed me to meet more people and so it accelerated my growth, because I was able to work with senior people at all.
But they pay you to do the reviews? Do they pay you to write articles?
No, I don't charge them.
So you do you make money from this partnership?
And that's where I differ from everybody else. Yeah, because people buy their products from my website.
Okay, so you're an affiliate basically.
So yeah. I don't want to. I do it differently. I don't come to somebody hey, you want me to review your blah blah blah? It's me $2,000. here, newsflash, guess what? Nobody wants to pay $2,000. So like if you say, I want to charge you money up front, they'll never, if they do pay you, then you'll never become friends with those people.
Yeah, fair enough. And they're like, oh, you're just that guy that want to make money from them, basically, initially.
I've never treated my brand like that. So I always use the money I made to make more content. So whether I had to go buy that product or I got it for free, I still made the content, right? So that's kind of how I was able to like. I worked with a lot of brands,
I want to go back to the money here. Cool. How do you make money from this? Is this an affiliate agreement? Like, do you get a commission per sale?
Affiliate and ads.
Okay.
Are the main drivers.
Okay, but what they do is they send you products.
I have special affiliate deals. I have exclusive discounts, like pretty substantial discounts on products that are super expensive. So it's like, they only give it to me and maybe like 4 other people, so it's like, cool. That's kind of, it's not like, Amazon, like Amazon's like a small practice. I mean, I probably make less than $1,000 a month on Amazon, like, because everything else is spread out. Yeah.
So you're mostly focused on these kind of like, I would call it almost like private affiliate offers. Would that be a correct private deals? Let's just say that.
I feel like my bread and butter is like the regular affiliate offers from like, any of the ones that you can get.
Okay.
Amazon, eBay, Rakuten, Commission Junction, all those, right? That's like, let's say it's a third, right, of my income. I say a third comes from ads, and I think the other third comes from random deals. Either special affiliate offers or whatever.
How do you promote these special affiliate offers? Like, is this just content on your site? Or
to my email list.
Yeah, I was going to say. So you're running email marketing,
and my site. Yeah, so people will, I'll put on the article sometimes, like, hey, you want to, like, we'll write an article, right? And they'll rank like a single review, like you're saying. And then it'll be like, oh, guess what? You can buy it from these 4 retailers. Oh, but the manufacturer says you can buy it for $50 off or $25 off, right? Which is better than all these retailers because they gave me a special deal. Here's the link, right?
Yeah,
so like that converts better than buying it from Amazon. So some people go, well, why don't you just put the special offer only? I'm like, because I want people to see it's a special offer.
You need to anchor the price.
So
anchoring the price.
Yeah, you show all the other prices. Yeah, like, I'm just like, so it's like, here's all the real prices in real time, right? I'm not making this up, And so it's like, I don't blast it out. It's like I have a line that says, here's the best offer. I'll do a pop-up on that page and be like,
that's what I used to do.
If you guys want the best price, here it is.
You know what I used to do? Like, I mean, it's something that I see in H Pro actually, where it's like, like let's say when you promote high paying like courses or some stuff that, stuff that pays like high commission, like 50 to 75%, they often give you a coupon to promote, right? They give you like a lower price that you can promote. And most people, when they write a review, they just blast that all over the page right away, Whereas what I do is I put the full price and I put an exit pop-up. So when people are about to leave, and on mobile it's when they start scrolling up. So it's like triggering the exit intent. I put like kind of like a discount pop-up that's like, making it look like a time limited deal or something. And the conversion rate on this is absolutely crazy because you have anchored the price, the higher price, and then it feels like a deal. Whereas if you open the page and the price is low already, it just feels like this is the price and it's a yes or no. Whereas there's more urgency when it's framed as something scarce as a discount. So I think that you're doing the right thing actually.
So do you think? I know you told me before that you use Opt-in Monster, right? Like that's
it's better for analytics. Program. But
that's why I've been using Elementor.
Yeah,
it doesn't tell you anything. It just does it.
Yeah, it doesn't tell you anything. It's like, well,
so it's like it doesn't tell you anything. It just does it, right? Yeah. But I like yesterday I was going to make. So I have a contest on my site right now where I'm working with one of the brands. They're giving a year supply of golf balls, right?
Nice.
So it's like we're doing a special giveaway just with them, and all I have to do is just put it on my website, right? And like we'll get people to enter, but I was trying to figure out how to, like, I was literally on the fence about going to Opt-in Monster and be like, well, you know what, I may just get off Element.
If you want something that's like not a subscription and has the stats, I would check Convertbox. It's a one-off. I think it's like $300 or something, but you won't pay a subscription, and you'll get the A/B testing, etc. The only drawback will be that your design options will be a bit more limited than Opt-in Monster, but it's probably worth the trade-off for not paying a subscription if you're mostly going to be using this for that,
Yeah. Oh, that's cool.
So I would check that out.
I mean, Elementor is great. It's just that because they have all the options, right? When you do every option that's in an Elementor thing
is super nice. It looks super nice. Yeah, but you don't know what's working.
But it's like still a little box. So it's how many things are you gonna put in?
Not just that, but the site we saw it's like a year and a half or something ago. It's like we were making a lot of our money through pop-ups and even running A/B tests. So for example, we get 2 brands that offer a discount, right? And the question was like, okay, which one makes more money? And we just run this as an A/B test with like tracking ID on each affiliate link. So to know it's the pop-ups, it's not like the reviews or something that generated the sales. And then we wouldn't necessarily rely on the A/B testing data or the pop-up plugin. We'd just look at how much each affiliate ID has made, and we'd make sure it's served like 50-50. And it would tell us which offer is best to put in our pop-up. And we, very often an offer would beat the other one by like 30-40% or something. And we'd just then roll that out as the main offer to beat or something. And then if we wanted to test another offer, we'd just run another A/B test where it's like 80% would be the offer that won the last test and 20% would be the offer that's contesting, that we're trying against it. And if the revenue of the challenger offer was more than 20% of the main offer, then we would swap it and then confirm it pretty much. So it gives you the opportunity to like optimize that. And I mean, we've made a lot of money with these kind of pop-ups in the past, and it's just having the testing capability. It's really, there's a lot of money that you're leaving on the table if you don't do it, basically. The
other thing I've learned too,
yeah,
is the piggy and I've been talking to like my ad company, right, that runs the ads.
Yeah, Mediavine, right?
Now, it's because like you have to have back then it was like 35,000, I think, and to get into it. And then Kevin was like, "You want to go on Thrive," but I didn't have 100,000 yet, so I was like, "Well, Mediavine."
Mediavine is close enough, to be honest. Fine. Yeah, it's about the same stats. I've had
RPM is pretty close, and it's like they bump you up 5% every year. You stay with them.
I actually got, when I did the advertising blueprint on HPro, I got a bunch of members send me their stats, right, both from Mediavine and Ads, right. It allowed me to compare, I think I had 40 sites or something that run like a bit of both. And really the stats were quite close. Like it was within a few dollars all the time. And some Mediavine sites would make more money than AdThrive, etc. So AdThrive is really good. We use that too. But I don't think you're losing out that much on Mediavine. The one where you're probably losing out, I would say, is Ezoic, actually. Ezoic is definitely a grade below Mediavine and AdThrive. But I think you're fine.
But you still can get an AdThrive without 100,000, right?
AdThrive is 100,000 for your first site, but then later, you can even have sites, if you're already in, you can have sites. I had a site with 15,000 that got in, for example, because you already have a site.
You already had sites, they knew who you were.
Yeah, exactly. So it's hard for the first one, but after that, you can kind of roll out a small network once you're in, and you can put your sites quite early in. Anyway, less than 15K visits per month, you don't even bother with ads. It's just not going to make you that much money. So once you're in, you can kind of keep rolling with it. You just need that one site that is in, basically.
But do you think I should switch though? Or
no, I don't think it's very important. I think
not worth
you might make a little bit more, but it's going to be marginal.
It's just not worth it. I'm
you
actually
have other things you can do,
Mediavine.
Right? Exactly.
Yeah, and they're really nice, and they get on your stuff right away. You just IM them, be like, "Hey, I noticed blah blah blah," and they're on it right away, and they're so nice. So I'm not trying to plug them, but I'm just really impressed by them.
Yeah,
but what they said though,
equally good. Yeah.
Most sites mine, you all have a sidebar, right? And so, before what I was doing is I'm gonna ask this question too. Do you still think the table of contents on the right hand side even matters anymore?
It doesn't look like Google's picking up that much on them anymore. Before they used to use it.
It was for a little bit. Remember that? And it was putting it in the, and
you see it
all my
now.
articles have it. But it's a lot of real estate, on your sidebar, especially when it comes to ads. Now your ads are being pushed down to the middle of the page, and the way you get paid is the per view, right?
I don't think it's that. I mean, we don't have it on. Look at Authority Hacker, for example. We don't have it, right? No, we have
what
the
about
sidebar.
Any of the other sites,
but even some other sites.
You guys use it?
No,
you do use it still.
No, not so much. Like we don't, it's like, it's not something that's like very important for me. Like, I'm doing the on-page blueprint now for HPro, right? And I haven't put it in there. I don't think it's that important. What matters is like, well, you have.
It was 2 years ago. I remember that. Like that's what everyone was talking about.
Yeah, I mean, if you check a lot of sites, they have
too.
it, right? But it's kind of like, I feel like it's an imitation thing where it's like people imitate everyone else without necessarily like questioning whether it's actually helping or not,
You think people really? I don't think people are clicking the side and being like, "Oh, what's this article about?" Oh, I'm going to talk. Like, just scroll down for 2 seconds. You're going to see what the article is about.
The thing as well is my observation is that very long content is a little bit less good than it used to be, maybe 2-3 years ago. And this was quite handy for very long content so that you could scroll down to the section that interests you.
Oh, it was really, really, really long ones.
Whereas now it's like, I mean, if you look at our content production, like most of our stuff is like, 2,000 words maybe, which is long, but not crazy long. Like people can scroll to the part they want or something. And also the problem with these sidebar
I totally agree.
type of contents anyway is that on mobile they're useless, like they don't exist, and really mobile.
You turn it off anyways. You don't even have it, so it's like
what percentage of your traffic is
who's
mobile?
On desktop anymore?
Exactly.
Yeah. Well, the reason why I'm asking this question is because like I was talking like the media behind. They're like, hey, we noticed you have, like they didn't say anything about the table of contents, but they're like,
they'd like to be higher up.
Explaining I could do more ads on the side.
Yeah.
And I was like, yeah. And what I had was a table of contents, and then I had a ebook, right, that I was trying to get emails from, and then after that I had a ad slide thing that I came up with just for my articles, like, hey, get $20 off of this product and then take it to the article, which I still want to keep that, but it's like all those, I'm thinking almost get rid of like some of that stuff. I mean, I did last night actually. I got rid of the ebook thing.
Be careful of touching your site up a little bit too fast. You know what happened when you do big changes to your site.
Why switch servers? I filled up my server last week.
Ooh.
That's what the crazy thing is. And so my VA was like, "Hey, bro, I'm getting this error because he couldn't put anything on the." He's like, "What does it mean?" And I'm like, I don't know." And so then I told my server guy, I'm like, "What does this mean?" And he's like, "Oh, you're full." I'm like, he's like, "Remember this conversation last year?" And I was like, "Oh yeah." And then I ended up having to buy a bigger server.
Fair enough.
Which was
okay. I would like to wrap up the interview with 2 questions. The first one is, what has been the most impactful tactic for your site in the last year? What has been the thing that has helped you the most in terms of making money or ranking higher, basically?
One thing is picking brands that you like and getting links from them. Like, like if I write an article, I always go back to the brand, the actual.
How do you get them to link to you?
Well, I give them like the link to the article, and if I do a video with it too, like a YouTube video, like it's good because now they're gonna want to show the video and the article, and it's just like So for me, it's like getting the link. I have a lot of brand links, and those are hard to get, and especially like they're kind of lazy, so you have to like know the right people because they have to go tell that right person, and so that's one thing that's really helped me a lot this year.
But what do you tell them? You just say, "Hey, here's my article. Will you link to it?"
Well, they already know I'm writing the article for them, right? Because they sent me the product. So I'm like, we're 100% unbiased. Like we're not in anybody's pocket, and so like they know that. So pretty much here's my deal with these brands. They're not paying me, so I don't have any like loyalty to them. And they don't want me to. I always tell brands, look, I'm not going to bash you, right? Like obviously, if you come to market and you're selling a bunch of them, it's not complete garbage, right? Because no one will be buying it. So I'm not looking for a problem or something like that, but so they trust that, but I'm not going to change my opinion. So what I will do is we'll publish the article, we'll send it back to the brand, be like, here's the article. We will change anything that's not technically correct, but I won't change opinions or rankings.
That's a good approach.
And I've had brands be like, oh, can you rewrite this and fix that and know I do? I say no, and then I publish it anyways, and I never talk to that brand ever again because I've already told them in the beginning I wasn't going to do that. So it's like if they're going to be DBs, and I'm not going to deal with that.
So, fair enough from them for trying. Like it's like if it was my brand, I would still try. But fair enough.
I wouldn't talk to you anymore. Then that'd be bad.
Yeah, well, I'll watch what you publish about us. We'll see about it. My next question is, well, now you start in like 2018, right? Kind of like end of 2007, January 1st, 2018, right? So it's like 18, 19, 20, 20. So you're 4 years in, right? What would you tell?
I just started my 4th year.
What would you tell to someone who is listening to this podcast and is in the position you were in 2017? Like, what is something that you would say that you did that they shouldn't do, and what is something that they should really do, like that you learned from experience?
Follow tasks. Don't write single reviews because it's a long term. It took me 2 years before I had enough traffic to get ads. You know what I mean? Because it has to be consistent. It can't be like, oh, I got, this many. 35,000 by August. That's the peak of golf season.
Yeah.
Right? So like I had to wait
down after that.
6 more months before it was like getting. So it's almost like, spend the time on the buyer guides if you can and the info content. Another thing was a game changer for me was Pinterest. Kevin told me that. Miles Beckler talked about it. You guys talked about it. So that's one thing I like focus on early, and that's a really good way of getting traffic in the beginning.
Yeah, I was
getting more traffic. Like the first 4 months, I was getting traffic from Pinterest. Like that's where my traffic was coming from.
Yeah.
It wasn't coming from organic, because I was brand new. But I feel like it kind of let Google know, like, hey, this is a real site, right? Because it's getting traffic on all these articles.
Yeah, and Pinterest is like a social network that really drives traffic. Even though there's bigger social networks, etc., Pinterest sends a lot of traffic to your site, which is quite nice. Is it still big for you, Pinterest?
And if you're a dude, right, and you're like, oh, yeah, I still have it. Like, guys are like, I'm not on Pinterest. That's a girl's thing. No, dude. Like, people are on Pinterest. Like, you want to be on Pinterest. They'll be on Pinterest. Like, I use, I still have it. I use... what's that program
Tailwind?
called? The main one. Tailwind, yeah.
Yeah.
That's one of my main softwares that I use is Tailwind.
Yeah, it's really
just for that. And Tailwind's great because now you can do repos, which is awesome.
Yeah, and they have the tribes, etc., where like people repost your stuff and you post some of theirs.
Kevin does tribes and he dominates on it. I tried doing tribes and I couldn't figure it out. So
maybe we need to get Kevin on the podcast then. I'll ask him.
Let's call him right now.
No. It's
Kevin, what do you do with tribes?
Maybe we'll do that. Maybe I should do a live with him. That'd be more interesting. Like we can like share screen, etc. Okay.
You guys can review my site live and rip it apart like you did 3 years ago.
That would be interesting. Maybe we should do that actually. Anyway, any final words for people who are listening to this podcast? Any tips for them? I think I'm really happy you shared your thing about the mentors, etc. Because I think that's something a lot of people could do better and could get a lot of benefits from, and that you've done quite well. Like, yeah, I can tell you're that personality that is able to connect with people, both with brands, with mentors, etc. And you've used it well to progress and to make your journey. So I think it's going to be quite interesting for people. But any last words for them?
Learn on-page SEO.
Uh-huh.
I would recommend that. I love it. It works. I mean, you just got to figure it out. What else? I mean, don't be afraid to start. That's it. Just go head first into it. I'll give you an example. Like, I did that contest yesterday, and I posted it, and I sent it to the brand. The brand's like, "Oh, you gotta take that. You gotta take that image down because those are old." Blah 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 blah. And I'm like, "All right, whatever." But like, if I just waited around, took forever to post it, then we wouldn't have like figured it out that fast. You know what I mean? Like, you just have to go head first. And I mean, I don't know. And you're not gonna make any money. You won't make money for at least 6 months.
At the beginning. I hope someday they make money, but yeah.
Right? Just think of it that way. Yeah. Well, then, I mean, you're not going to make money for 6 months. That's what I tell people. Like, hey, it's 6 months before you start seeing money.
I tell people a year, actually. But I tell, like, just to be safe, like, some sites don't make much money.
I think I made $700 like the first year I was in
exactly. So, it pays for some costs, but you're not making money.
No.
Yeah.
And but you look at it, it's like my growth was like crazy, right? I mean, like, let's say $700 the first year, and then I made like, whatever, 10 the second year, and then the third year, I'm not gonna tell you how much I made, but I made a lot, 10x that, right? Okay. So it's almost like, but you see, it's like you just,
it's not linear.
It's not linear. And the other thing is, don't take like your money from your site and be like, oh, I'm gonna go buy some crap. Like, take that money and reinvest it in the site. Like, just keep on reinvesting, and treat it like an asset. Yeah. Because that's essentially what it is. Like, Gail and I talked about it last week. Like, I know what my site's worth right now. I have no reason to be selling it. I'm not going to. But it also gives you a lot of street cred, if you have a site that's
it gives you confidence in what you're doing.
Will kill for that traffic.
Yeah, exactly. We were talking about this, how like a lot of brands, e-commerce sites in the golf niche would love to get as much traffic as you get, pretty much. And it's like they pay a lot of money on AdWords to get a lot less traffic.
I have that conversation with brands all the time. I'm always like, you guys can't do what we do as like authority sites. Like you can't. Google doesn't treat you the same way. Like if you're e-com,
I think
you're
it's
not going to be able
possible.
to rank for the same stuff we want.
We've done it before. Like
I've been starting to see.
When we had the agency,
I've been saying that to them.
When we had the agency, we were doing that for brands, and we got good results.
The only thing that pisses me off is like some brands are trying to do buyer guides now on their sites.
They're right,
and I'm like,
it makes good money. Anyway, I just want to close this podcast here. It's been quite a long one. Paul, thank you for coming. Finally, I'm happy we recorded that podcast. It wasn't easy, but it was really good. So thank you for that time. And if you guys enjoyed this video and this podcast, don't forget to subscribe, and we'll see you next week with Mark. So bye.